Okay. First of all, I'll say Happy New Year before I start. I'd like to remind everyone present that this meeting will be filmed by the council, live streamed on the internet, and will be capable of repeated viewing. If you're seated in the meeting, it is possible that the cameras will capture your image. By your presence, you are deemed to consent to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting and/or training purposes. If you address the committee, your contribution will be recorded and broadcast, unless this is during a period when the meeting is in private session. As the chair of the meeting, I can, at my discretion, terminate or suspend filming if, in my opinion, continuing to do so would prejudice the proceedings of the meeting, or if I consider that continued filming might infringe the rights of any individual or breach any statutory provision. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Dixon and Councillor Irving. Do we accept those apologies? Those in favour? Those against? That's all right. 2-0. Declarations of interest and dispensation. I imagine, Councillor Coleman, it's your usual one.
Yes, using the words in previous set of meetings will probably do okay. Yeah. While I consider matters as a member of this committee, I'm also on the Planning and Licensing Committee at Cotswold District Council and may be called upon to vote on any applications this council responds to. In the light of any additional information received, I may find that I do not vote at Cotswold District Council's Planning and Licensing Committee in the same way as I would have done or have as I would at this meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. Minutes of the last planning committee meeting, which was on the 26th of November, which have been circulated. Is it your wish that I should sign these as a true record of the meeting? Those in favour? Okay, unanimous. Oh, that is, I said, even though it says draft on them. It says draft, but public participation.
Yeah.
Done. Okay. Member participation. Yep. Okay. An update on the neighbourhood plan Reg 16 submission.
We're continuing with the preparation of the Reg 16
Yeah.
documentation.
The aim is the 10th, but it may be slightly after that.
Might be slightly after that.
Right, okay. I think probably at this point it's worth noting we have had some comments from the community volunteers, the neighbourhood plan steering group, which we're looking at to see whether they can be either taken on board or whether they need to comment back during the Reg 16 consultation. Okay. Applications. So we've got applications for consideration today's meeting. The first one of which is for 11 Martin's Close. Apologise that I've not turned my phone off. I should have done before. Before it made noise like that.
It has not joined the meeting.
So 11 Martin's Close, which is park garage conversion. The proposal is that we have no objection to this one.
Objections.
All those in favour of no objection? Okay. Next one is for 6 Bowling Green Avenue. We have comments from the Civic Society as well.
I just pointed out, just remind you that we've had new plans for the slightly altered application, which reduces the size, the scale of the upper
Okay. I'll read out then what the suggested response is. No objection. The application site is large enough to comfortably accommodate the proposed extension, which is of a scale in keeping with the existing building. The position and angle of the building in relation to neighbouring properties and proposed fenestration is such that it would not result in significant overshadowing or overlooking of neighbouring properties.
Chair,
Yes, there's one.
I see that on this item we have a comment from the Cirencester Civic Society suggesting that the gable is over large and out of keeping with existing gables on the house. Have the most recent details that our officer advised us of, have the most recent details submitted by the applicant, do they cover that point in any way?
They do, they
believe they
bring,
do.
they bring the, we'll go in and have a look now, because
Quick
they,
one, is it?
yes. It's easier to. Right, well, they seem to have, gone ahead and, they are waiting for our response to this, and they know we have the,
Oh,
it
right.
seems they've made a decision on this one.
Right, okay.
Although it does address that point, I would say, councillor, as it reduces the upper floor.
It did go
scale of
right
the upper
across.
floor. Yes, it did run right across
Now taking it in on the one side.
and removed a window that might have been cause for concern overlooking neighbouring properties, so. Can you have a look at the notice?
We'll have a quick look at the decision notice and see what the officers already.
Is it agreed with us?
Oh, I haven't. Is it 3487?
For that.
No, I know, but this is where they normally.
Yeah.
And that's the officer's recommendation.
This is how they
It's a
decide.
decision they've done, they've already made the decision.
No, well, no, it's his recommendation. At the top of the page,
You might have to,
top of the page,
Yeah.
recommend, decide it's not for opinion. The
I
officer's
think you
report.
might have to refresh your page, because I think
I've only
that's,
just done this.
yeah,
Yeah, just his decision notice, look,
previously, I think.
No, no.
decision notice says the. I can't read that far away, it's too far.
He's written the report, that's the point.
They permitted,
Reasons they were going to be in this one here, which is the officer's report.
the comments,
Which actually isn't in my list, so you're quite right, Chair.
Well,
time and
I
writer.
spoke to the case officer this morning about it, and she was expecting our response to come back
Now they've already done.
after today's meeting, and she knows we're looking at it tonight with this new
All right.
drawing in hand, so I will contact her and ask her what happened with that one.
Well, that
although it-
certainly needs to be updated, because they will have received
Yes.
comment.
Well, yes, yes. Officer, I suppose.
So,
I'll get in touch with the case.
given that the revised plans now do cut down on that overlooking from what it was before, when the Civic Society made their comment, are you happy with our recommendation, no objection, Councillor Coleman?
Yes, Chair.
All those in favour then as well? The next one is 28 boxes. And that's for demolition of the existing garage and erection of two-storey side extension. And on this one, we are suggested we're making an objection. Town council is not objecting in principle, but rather with regards to the proposed scale of the rear element of the proposed upper floor. Town council feels that in taking consideration of close proximity of houses along this row and the limited amenity space, that the massing created will overshadow the neighbour most impacted by this proposal. Town council notes and welcomes efforts by the applicant to restrict and position fenestration on the neighbouring wall in order to reduce overlooking, but feels the extent of overshadowing would have too negative an impact. You want to have a look at the plans on that one? Got them up there, Councillor Coleman, huh?
No, well,
Yeah.
go back and have a look.
That's the existing, isn't it?
That was the proposed, and the elevations. This is the block plan. You can see that. See how taking this out here is really going to impact
This is,
27.
there's another one where the new details came in yesterday.
Site location and proposed block.
Only the location and the,
Look to see much different.
I could say it doesn't look any different to me.
So the existing elevations, look at, and I'll show you those
yeah, so that's the existing.
existing. And then
Down
that's
on the
the,
left-hand side, and that's, yeah. Although there is a strange reversing of elevation 2 there is the same as elevation 1 on the other one.
see that's. It's yes, it's 2 stories, so that's going to very definitely impact 27.
Okay. All those in favour then of that objection? Okay, thank you. The next 2 applications I'll take together because one's the full application, the other is the list of the wheat sheaf at 79 Cricklade Street for conversion of the public house sui generis to 2 3-bedroom dwellings, use class C3, demolition of single-storey rear extension and outbuildings, and erection of 1 2-bedroom and 4 3-bedroom dwellings, use class C3, utilising access of Cricklade Street and Westway with associated parking, hard and soft landscaping. And we have a comment also in from the Civic Society who are objecting. And the suggested response from us is the Wheat Sheaf is a Grade 2 listed building located within the Cirencester Town Centre and primary shopping areas, as well as being within the Cirencester Town Centre conservation area. Town Council objects to the application on grounds that the Grade 2 listed public house is worthy of consideration as an important heritage asset to be enhanced and preserved for community use. Town Council believes that part of the attraction of Cirencester Town Centre is its diverse offering, and that applies both to retail and to its range of meeting places. This pub was operational only 2 years ago and had an active life as a venue for many clubs, as well as being very much a locals pub. Though it has been marketed for 2 years since its doors closed due to the retirement of the landlord, it has not been able to secure new tenants. It seems likely that the level of works required to bring it back into use as a pub or community space, given its dilapidated state, deterred would-be tenants, although vendors received inquiries from well over 1,000 interested parties, making it only viable for developers who could convert it to high-value residential buildings. The NPPF paragraph 202 states that heritage assets are an irreplaceable resource and should be conserved in a manner appropriate to their significance so that they can be enjoyed for their contribution to the quality of life of existing and future generations. Para 203 states that plans should set out a positive strategy for the conservation and enjoyment of the historic environment, including heritage assets most at risk through neglect, decay, or other threats. This strategy should take into account D, the desirability of sustaining and enhancing the significance of heritage assets and putting them to viable uses consistent with their conservation. E, the wider social, cultural, economic and environmental benefits that conservation of the historic environment can bring. The applicant makes the point that there are many other pubs and eating establishments within walking distance of the Wheat Sheaf, but the Town Council feels that does not account for the variation in those offerings which cater for different sections of the community. The Wheat Sheaf was, until 2 years ago, very much a thriving and inclusive establishment, fulfilling the social well-being needs of a very local residential community. Given Cirencester can currently demonstrate a 5-year housing land supply, that there are many houses already being built at the steadings, and that the emerging neighbourhood plan is advocating for active travel routes to improve connectivity from these developments to the town centre. The Town Council feels that this application should be refused and that further work should be done to secure the Wheatsheaf pub building for community use going forward. Councillor Harmer.
Yes, Joe, I'd certainly like to second those words. I might encourage us to add a few more, but I can do no better than to quote from one of the objectors. The Wheatsheaf is an important town centre pub and has been a very successful business run by the same landlord for the past 29 years, who left as he has decided to retire due to his age and not due to falling sales, as suggested in the application. The pub was run as a very successful sports pub, was very well supported and offered traditional pub games and leagues such as darts and skittles. Wheatsheaf provided an important place for people to meet and socialise, as well as a venue for local clubs and charities to hold events, and could continue to be a successful business in the right hands. Now, I know all of this to be true because I used the pub myself on a regular basis. My mother-in-law found the Sunday lunches very acceptable and affordable. And it's true that there was a lot of sport. It was never noisy sport. It was never unruly. It was, for that type of wide range of people, it was perfect situation. Furthermore, I'd just like to say that although it's a little while since we lost a pub, we have gained a new pub called the Hop Kettle in the centre of the town since the last closure, in my recollection, and that is doing extremely well. It's completely different in its type in most ways from the Wheatsheaf and how that was. But there's no doubt in my mind, and these are not comments that would be appropriate, I'm sure, to add, it's that the owners of the building put off doing any of the important structural repairs and work to it when it was occupied. This may have been a bit difficult to do. And then as soon as the landlord retired, when there was an opportunity to carry out those repairs, they did no repairs either, certainly none visible. It's the buildings in the public realm. The final point I'd like to make, and I have made it in connection with similar applications, is that town centres almost unique in the country now in being arguably short of vacant premises for new businesses to set up in. Cricklade Street has only one long-term empty, which we believe is due to sound commercial reasons by the site owner. He thinks they're sound. And recent vacancies on that street have been taken very fast, and the long-standing vacancy for 222 is now going to be the works. Even during Christmas, we had a pop-up shop which may survive from Harris Tweed, who do the Harris Tweed Herbal Market stall, Mother's. So we've got a problem that almost no other town. It's a bright problem to have, but we've got to be careful to protect our retail core. So I'm sorry to have spoken so long. You can see I'm very passionate about this. And my feelings are no stronger than those of hundreds, if not thousands, of people in Science System. It's a vital part of our heritage.
Yeah. Should we just add to the end of this that we echo the views of whoever it was you quoted, rather than putting the whole thing in there?
Yes, I think that would be fine. That the paragraph I used, just the one paragraph.
Oh, right, okay.
I mean, there are many other good points made by many objectors.
Yeah.
And if the matter is not, if the application is not refused by the officer, it may find itself at committee. And you will be there to express your views and our views on behalf of the Town Council, won't you, Chair?
Yes, if you're not there doing it already.
And I have a separate role.
Yeah, okay.
I also chair that a lot of residents were very sad to see it close and they'd like to have kept it, especially as say the more elderly that didn't have so far to walk, and it was just a good place for everybody to visit, be part of. So yes, I agree.
Yeah, okay. So we're happy with the sections that I read out, plus the paragraph that you read out?
Yeah, thank you. Which begins.
Okay.
Which is an important.
Yeah. All those in favour of that then? Next one then is for Dollar Street House, 2 Dollar Street. Is a conservation area application to fell the yew tree as it is outgrowing its garden location, and pollard apple tree to around 2 metres in height below the old points. And not sure that we've actually totally agreed necessarily, or agreeing with the suggested one here, because I think we're a little concerned about felling a yew tree, which actually takes a long time to grow and it's fairly substantial conservation area. There must be ways of treating it to stop it having outgrown where it is.
I'd like that to be added as well to.
Yeah. So if we say that whilst we don't object to work being done on the trees, and particularly the pollard and the apple tree, we are concerned about the yew tree. Because it's slow growing and yeah. All those in favour of that then? Okay, thank you. The next application is for 6 Kings Hill, erection of single-storey extension to rear and side elevations. The suggested response is no objection. The extension is large, but in keeping with the existing building, and will sit comfortably within the site. The extension would not result in any shadowing or overlooking. A quick look, Councillor Coleman.
No, that's I always will behind you. Sorry.
A quick look at this one.
Squaring off.
Basically, that bit on the
Like I say, the corner.
yeah.
It's all single elevation, obviously. So it's quite large to scale.
I would say they have quite a big garden, don't they? So
Yeah,
that's-
we've got a large garden in it.
So it's-
story.
Yeah,
There was a comment from the neighbours, I think, on that. I can't remember
Objection.
top of my head.
Okay, so this is a comment about states that tree number 3 is dead and will be removed. Tree number 3 is not dead. There's evidence to prove this if required. The tree is large, substantial, well-established apple tree and is flourishing.
Yeah.
There's a tree officer comment following that up. The comments from the tree officer, no objection, subject to replacement tree planting, which we could echo if that's.
always good to be plant trees.
They don't have TPOs, these trees, but,
No.
and it's not in a conservation area.
The tree officer was suggesting that it should be a replacement tree, compensate the loss. That sounds. Perhaps we just add on to the end of it. In fact, yeah, perhaps I'll add on to the end, subject to a replacement tree condition.
Driving it.
Yeah, all those in favour of that? Okay, thank you. Right. 4 Parkview, Stratton. Erection of an entrance porch and 2-storey rear extension, part retrospective. The suggestion here is in response to the recent retrospective application 24/02/104/FUL, which sought to address issues which has arisen as a result of conditions being ignored and not met in relation to permissions granted for 21/02935/FUL. Town Council raised concerns about unacceptable overlooking of neighbouring properties and so requested that retrospective application be called in to be considered by committee. CDC subsequently refused it on grounds that it was contrary to local plan policies EN2 and EN12. The application has now been resubmitted to include a daylight and sunlight impact assessment report and a reassertion that there is not unacceptable overlooking of neighbouring properties. Town Council still feels that, for number 2 in particular, overlooking is an issue, but would welcome a site visit from a CDC planning officer in order to assess this before any decision is made, should CDC be minded to approve. All those,
Well, Chair,
right, yeah,
just
Councillor.
to say, not to want to dominate discussion, but this not only is in my ward, but I can see this particular extension from my front drive. And I've been involved with the family of the neighbour concerned. They were the people who drew my attention that the original extension had not been built entirely in accordance with the permission given. And as I understand it, if I remember rightly, the history then is that the planning officer advised the developers that they hadn't built what had been permitted, so they should reapply. And they did reapply. And I think, as I can remember a planning officer saying to me that it was his intention to refuse the reapplication because the building was too big. But I'm not, and there are two decision notices included in the planning statement. So I think, yes, we go back to the 12th of September, most recently, the part retrospective application, which the applicants put in at the officer's request, has been refused. And so we're going through the next step. And I find it difficult now to keep track of all the details, but I do know that part of it was that the extension is a little bit longer than it should have been, and that there is an overlooking window which wasn't included in the original permission, which I think the second one can be dealt with by a requirement to obscure. As to the issues of light and so on, they're dealt with in detail in the applicant's report. And I think, having gone through the proper process at this stage and recognising that both the applicant and the affected neighbour's family might turn to me for assistance, I'm using this opportunity to say that on this occasion only, having definitely voted on it previously in this committee, I will abstain. Thank you, Chair.
Right, okay. I think the pertinent part of the suggested response here is that we still feel that for number 2 in particular, overlooking is an issue, but would welcome a site visit from a CDC planning officer in order to assess this before any decision is made, should CDC be minded to approve. So,
I'm happy with
in
those words.
favour, yep, okay. The next 2, which I shall take together, are for 22 Thomas Street. One is a listed building consent and the other advertising application for retrospective installation of 6 non-illuminated signs. And on this one, I suggested response, and there are comments here from the Civic Society as well. But what we're saying is no objection to retrospective installation, subject to satisfaction of the heritage officer, because they are, they are interested on a listed building, aren't they?
Yeah, can I add that yes, there are many of them are little signs, and they can all be removed, but the conservation officer has raised the issue that the parking sign in particular, which is on the wall, is quite large and very red and stands out quite a sort of a, on a what is a listed building. So and in fact the conservation officer points out that it doesn't currently meet EN2, 10 and 11 of local plan. and has also made a point, some aspects of the MPPF where it's not necessarily adequately conserving the heritage asset, given the scale and the colour of the signage.
Add that into our comments about
It may be that
conservation officer said, because obviously it's important that
Yeah.
they're aware of that.
we could say that subject to the satisfaction of heritage and conservation officers.
Conservation. Yeah. Right, that's on this, I know. So, so the comments now are no objection, subject to the satisfaction of the heritage officer and conservation.
And the conservation officer.
Is it fair with that?
Yeah. I was hoping there'd be some photographs we could look at.
There are some photos.
What I mean, I just scanned through all the existing bits of old notices that they've included, but I didn't find the new ones.
This is the, oh gosh, that's huge.
Big.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's a large site.
Not under photographs, don't see.
Use that a bit, shall we? Sure why that's happening.
No, no,
There is a photograph of the parking sign.
Ah, right.
Say outside and.
the existing,
This one here is,
Yes,
this
yeah,
one
but it is.
causing the.
that's the proposed, is it?
No, that's the one
They're already now.
Oh, sorry, I do apologise, Chair.
It's another retrospective, yes.
That's the one causing the issue.
I think it's on both sides. I think it's
Yeah.
on the opposite.
Yeah, there is a both sides, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
So you really can't miss it.
And you can't. I drove past it.
No.
I can see grounds to object, Chair.
Yes, yeah. So I think subject to the views of the heritage and conservation officers, we'll probably cover that off because they are clearly.
Yeah.
Big. Yeah. All those, we've got a vote on that one. Sorry, yeah, that's a good vote on that.
Those are passes.
The next one is for five Bart Glen Road, and it's a TPO one. It's to the fell, a lime tree, and a yew tree.
Nothing you going, Chair?
Yes, and to prune another yew to balance the shape and thin by 15%.
Society commented on.
So, yes, Civic Society have said that no details of replacement trees are indicated, native species replacement should be required. So I think actually that, yeah, this is a TPO one, so I think if they are felling a lime tree and a yew tree, we would want to see suitable replacements for those.
We echo those comments then from the.
So I think, yeah. I think actually you probably. Yeah, so whilst we don't object to it, we do want to see native species replacements required. That'd be a reasonable response.
Yes, Chair.
All those in favour of that then? Right, the next one is another TPO one, Happy Grounds.
Usually means, Chair, it's either our tree
Well,
or
that
the
was-
district council's tree.
Well, that was what I was just wondering, as to, I must admit, I didn't look at the application of this one as to who the applicant was. Sorry about that. One's not working. Oh, yes. Seems to have lost its, hyperlink.
Manually, it's faster.
Just have to type it in. Sorry about that. just really have to understand whether we effectively as town council we're applying for it, whether it's something else is applying for it.
Let's have a comment.
Which report will probably tell.
Just a town council.
Oh, it's
I'm
ours,
not allowed
yeah.
to make a,
What do we do when it's ours?
That's what I wonder.
We can't-
if we actually.
no comment,
We can't say that.
it's noted.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
Applicant.
Yeah, just noted as with the applicant.
Yeah.
Well, spotted, yeah.
Well, I just thought Abbey Grounds, it's like it's, okay. So the next one then is for 18 Chesterton Park, erection of front porch and rear garden wall. I think there's, a neighbour has made a comment on this one, so I think we hopefully we've covered that off in what we're saying here. No objection, subject to legal requirements being met with regards to wall height. I think the neighbour is commenting something about the lands, the ground levels and
Yes, he was
whether
lower,
it's there
yeah.
for making it higher than it should be. If that made sense.
So, we are baseline, as they're talking about I mean, it does actually raise the actual level by about, point, I think it was 0.8, it's 0.6 or 0.8 of a metre.
Yeah, I did look at it and thought that what your comment you've posed is actually quite suggested quite sensible, that we should say it's subject to legal requirements being met with regards to wall height. All those in favour of that? I think you've got one application ahead of us, Councillor Coleman. Eight
Well,
Castle
yes,
Street.
yes, indeed, Chair. I think this is a,
This was a jeweller shop, wasn't it? Was it a jeweller shop?
yes.
Yeah. And it's for a large, I say it was because it isn't who's applying for it now. It's a large fascia and 7 smaller non-illuminated signs. The Civic Society are objecting.
Yes, Chair, I think it would be
I can
helpful to
understand
have the mock, we do, the application does have a mock-up of the proposed
It does,
sign.
yes.
And the Civic Society's comments, I'm sure you're about to read out, won't you? But I don't think I'd have written this. Inappropriate in design, a negative impact on the street scene and the conservation area. The jaunty lettering in discordant colours are particularly jarring. It would be more suited to a shop on the seafront of a seaside town. Does sound like we'd be looking down our noses at the seaside, which would be most inappropriate for Cirencester. But you can see,
It is very bright,
despite that grey block in the middle, that it is
yeah,
eye-catching.
it is.
But in a retail area, just so I don't talk too much, eye-catching fascias are really quite common, particularly, I can think of it, on Castle Street. The care organisation has an enormous one. But, so,
But we need that sort of thing, don't we?
and yet another example of a property that was empty 5 minutes and has
Yeah.
been taken.
Yeah.
Can we say that subject to the conservation officer looking at
So-
it? Because there are rules on what colours we can have anyway, isn't there?
So what we've got as the suggestion is no objection, subject to the satisfaction of the heritage officer and heritage and conservation officer.
Because we do have rules, isn't there? There are set colours they can't account for up, isn't there? I'm sure that's what, isn't it? They like have a block, don't they, that says, you can't use this colour. Yeah,
Hey.
there's palette.
They have a palette, don't they?
Yeah, it actually says what colours you can use or not use. If I remember, there was one in the marketplace and they wanted it bright orange or something. And because it didn't come in the colour, they ended up being a very pale beige, no, sage, sorry. Less than the colour though. There we are.
it is very difficult with the push that there's been for sort of like branding companies where they like to have their brand. And if they can't actually use the brand, it starts to get quite complicated.
Yeah.
But,
The base colour is actually very much in keeping with pretty much most of the new shops coming into the town. So that colour blue is quite sort of,
oh, yes.
it's just that bright.
Yes, it's just that,
It's
it's
difficult.
very, very bright, but not, yeah.
I think yellow.
And I think these are the sorts of things that the heritage and
think it's-
conservation officers
but then-
pick up on.
It's vintage. Yellow was a vintage colour, so.
A brown.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
those-
brown, is it brown or yellow? I beg
It
your
is
pardon.
these days.
It was
Yeah.
yellow to me from you. But yeah, I
So,
mean, that's
yes, so the proposal is,
60s, 70s.
no objection, subject to satisfaction of the heritage and conservation officers.
Yeah.
All those in favour of that? Okay. Next one then is for Stepping Stones Day Nursery, 25 Ashcroft Road, erection of an external staircase and formation of first floor door to rear elevation. The suggested response here is no objection. The external staircase and door will serve an important function and will not result in any further overlooking for properties in Ashcroft Gardens.
I mean, Ashcroft Gardens is already overlooked.
It's already overlooked by where they're put, from where they're putting the
Yes.
staircase in, so it's not making it any more overlooked.
Is it, so the only thing as they pointed out is the fact that in inclement weather, if somebody's using it, it might be a bit dangerous. I'm assuming that's been taken into consideration.
Well,
Chair, if I may, the covering letter refers to it as an external access staircase and formation of first floor personnel door opening to the rear. And so they make it very clear that it's not for use by the parents or children,
No,
just for staff working there. That's how I read it, because it would be
Sure.
ridiculous to have children going up an external staircase going to a nursery.
yes.
Which isn't necessarily, it may not be a planning issue, but it's just a way.
it could be a fire escape.
Yeah.
We don't.
I don't know how they use the building, but I suspect that probably the upper floor is
Offices.
probably
Yeah.
offices, and the downstairs is where the
Yeah.
nursery actually is. But
And it could be a fire.
Am I right? Yeah, I seem to remember it, Councillor Jenny confirm, wasn't this a dairy?
Yes, once upon a time, yeah. I can remember it being a dairy, so I've been here
It's
for
quite a noisy place, a dairy.
5 o'clock in the morning.
you saying that the nursery is?
Well, shorter hours.
Sure, yes, not as early in the morning, yeah, true.
And I think as well with the stairs, I mean, it's not good, as you say, not going to be with children, and it could be a safety issue as well.
There are no objections at the
No.
moment, are there?
I don't know.
All those in favour then of our response, no objection. The next one is for the old parsonage, 30 Watermore Road.
I'm not sure.
Erection of single-storey extension and orangery and the alterations to entrance and gate.
Well, I
They're
think,
widening the entrance, aren't they?
yeah, they said they've taken all the trees down, which is, a lot of people were surprised about, because they didn't see the point of having that, even to widen the entrance, to take all the trees down. And they've stripped the.
And I don't actually recall there being a conservation area application for the removal of the trees, as it's in
No.
Cirencester.
I was surprised, that's why I was very surprised as well, maybe there was. Shouldn't there be, what, should there be, it's gone now anyway. I mean, the ground's totally level, there's no shrubs or anything in the garden.
We have a look, because usually there's isn't there a thing on there for sort of like site history? On the
Previous applicant.
further up somewhere. Related
It's
date?
in here.
Oh, related
As I
date?
said,
No.
it looks like,
Well, according to that, then it doesn't look like there's
Property
been.
history 18, it's 18. So here's the history here. So that's quite old. These are the most recent here. Chimney Beach T1 fell to ground in
That's only
2023.
one tree.
Another beach in
Yeah.
2020.
But they've taken the whole trees away, there's the whole level of trees gone.
Number
Oh, yeah,
of trees
they are,
here.
Yeah.
That was back in 2016. So that's quite a long
No,
time.
it's this last year, isn't it? I just
Okay.
wondered if they were meant to have
Hmm.
Well,
an application to fell them.
I think they should have done. I think it should have been a conservation area application.
And in 2023, the beech tree, that was a T. Conra. So
Yeah, but that's only fell one
that
tree.
was one tree, yeah.
And that was right in the
One
corner.
tree that's fell.
So that suggests that some of them have those constraints.
Might have gone.
Yes, they have. Yeah.
Yes.
It's along the site, now it says here. Oh, wait a minute, this is that's the nurseries on the wrong place here.
If I read out what the suggested response is, and then we'll see
Yeah.
if we want to add something to it. No objection. Although the old parsonage is not listed, it does lie within the Cirencester South Conservation Area, and the proposed orangery overlaps the edge of the scheduled ancient monument by approximately 3.6 metres. The main building sits back from Watermore Road within its own grounds, and so any additions would be largely hidden from view. That said, the old parsonage is a fine mid-19th century house, and sitting within a conservation area, as it does, is a heritage asset. The applicants are acutely aware of the importance of maintaining the integrity of the property within the context of the town and surrounding landscape, and have consulted with Historic England and appointed an archaeologist to prepare an archaeological impact and mitigation statement. Not least, the advice received means that the orangery will be constructed on a shallow raft foundation to avoid harm. The designs are sympathetic with the main building and its surroundings. And I don't have any problems with that part, but I'm just wondering whether we should add that we do have concerns about the removal of the trees adjacent to Watermore Road, and the absence of an application for that, as far as we can make out. That will make some sense. I can understand that they might want to remove tree.
To widen the road, yeah.
Widen the gate.
Yeah.
There's a lot that have gone
They've all
along
gone.
that wall. And we'd like to see some replacement trees. Suitable replacement trees, I think. Are we happy with
Yeah.
that as our response?
Yeah.
All those in favour?
Yeah,
Oh,
yes,
sorry.
yes.
Oh,
No,
yes,
no,
you are.
I just,
Okay.
yeah. I was going to mention the real issues. The scheduled monument, and that's dealt with by the orangery going to be built on that.
On that, yep. The next one then is for 47 Savoury Way, Cirencester. Replace wooden pilings and fence with a higher retaining wall and fence. I think it's the one where it effectively will be about 0.6 of a metre higher when it's finished.
Yes.
By the time they've added some extra RSJs. So the suggestion here is no objection to replacement wooden pilings and fence with higher retaining wall and fence, which will comprise railway sleepers held in place by RSJs.
Do they need special permission for having it higher? Is that why they got this coming forward? Because just replacing like for like, it's, I'm just thinking that normally there's a 6 foot seems is
There is, I know,
I'm assuming there is precedence to make them high.
because the bit with the RSJs is to hold the level of the ground
Behind it.
their garden,
Yeah.
and there's the fence on top of it. Fence on top of it is the same size as it was before. It's just the ground level, I think. There.
I'm assuming there's room.
Yeah.
I'd not heard of any before, so.
I couldn't see a problem with this one.
Oh no, I couldn't see a problem. I just,
Happy?
Yeah,
Yeah, all those in favour then. Next one is for TPO for 26 Oaklands, Cirencester. Lime tree reduced back to previous pruning points. Poplar re-pollard. Cherry reduced back to previous pruning points. Another two poplars re-pollard. And the suggestion here is no objection subject to the views of the tree officer. All in favour of that? Okay, yeah. The next one then is for 10 Upper Churnside, Cirencester, erection of 2-storey side extension. The suggested response is no objection. There is precedent set for this type of development, evidenced in a few houses nearby, and the scale and design of this proposal are both in keeping with the surroundings and subservient to the existing building. All those in favour of that one? Okay. Oh, yes. Next one's an interesting one. I don't think that as I'm a patient with this doctor's surgery that I need to declare an interest.
Just ask the same question, my family members, but so I better check.
Yeah. So this one is for 9 Chesterton Lane, Cirencester, Phoenix surgery practice. Installation of a temporary porter cabin building to be used as additional consultation rooms for a period of 3 years. I'll read the comments on this one.
Yes, it's a bit balanced, isn't it, Chair?
Yes. In July 2024, the Town Council raised no objection to this application for the installation of temporary porter cabin to help address capacity issues at Phoenix Surgery in the medium term, whilst plans for construction of a new surgery at another site are progressed. Since then, the Biodiversity and Countryside Officer has recommended refusal, citing lack of information to demonstrate the biodiversity gain condition can be met in accordance with Schedule 7A of the Town and Country Planning Act 1990. The applicant has since submitted an ecological walkover and BNG assessment and proposed a series of measures to deliver what they deem to be proportionate biodiversity enhancements, including native planting, together with improved roosting and/or nesting opportunities for bats and notable bird species such as house sparrow, if present. These measures are intended to support compliance with legislative requirements and planning policy, and although they don't meet full 10% BNG, the applicant has set out a clear argument as to why, in this case, what is to be achieved is proportionate. The Town Council welcomes the consideration of biodiversity net gain with regards to this application and continues to raise no objection, subject to the satisfaction of the Biodiversity and Countryside Officers. And I was just wondering whether, because this is effectively a temporary application for a period of 3 years, and goodness gracious, one hopes that within 3 years we have actually managed to secure a proper surgery.
In 3 years?
Well, that perhaps there could be a condition added that on the removal of this porter cabin, suitable biodiversity planting takes place on site, and whether that will all help with the officer at the district council actually saying, well, that's fair enough. I don't know whether in 3 years we can get primary health facility. We've been trying for a long time already. We hope we can get something sorted out in the town the size of Cirencester that actually will support the medical facilities in a better way.
Well, Chair, it took it can take a lot of effort and time, but eventually Tetbury has got its permission for its new surgery, which I imagine is in progress. And before then, though they're not even our size, still on the road, had a difficult time, but have achieved a new surgery. So you're right to be positive. And there's a timing issue, and of course there's the size issue, and the fact that the Steadings' original plans conceived a rather smaller surgery, and the likely operators of that surgery would be prepared to accept. I might be wrong on this, but that's what I think is the case. The background is that the Steadings were proposing in effect, a satellite surgery, but the operators of the general practice have no interest in having another satellite. And therefore, suitable, as far as I know, discussions are still in progress about what the answer is going to be. I certainly don't know what it is. So yes, 3 years. Let us hope that this is only temporary for 3 years. But clearly, it's going to carry out a very valuable function while it's there.
Exactly, and they've already got 8 water cabins there. Where they have sort of like almost paramedic facility where people can get sort of fairly quick response to issues, which is this is just behind the existing one, and certainly it was always a piece of very scrubby bit of land that they put in it, and you can only hope that if we can get a condition added that at the end of the use of this they actually do remove it and put in sort of biodiversity net gain, that would be useful, I think. All those in favour of that? Okay, order, thanks. Right, and then the last thing we've got, I think it's the last one, is for garage block south east of 4 Rutland Place, prior notification for demolition of 13 block-built garages split into 2 blocks with corrugated asbestos roofs and steel up and over doors.
They are in fact.
I noticed there is a comment from the Civic Society that they can only really judge the proposals when we know what's going to go in place of them. But this is first step of that, I guess. And our suggested response is no objection.
You need to replace it because they are falling apart.
But yeah, exactly. And they're asbestos, and that's straight away. Let's get rid of that.
Yeah, Chair, I entirely agree. I do also agree with the point. I think it's a very important point that an awful lot of garages are getting built, added to existing houses, which are obviously too small for any car on that property to fit in. But in terms of finding eyesores in Cirencester, which it is possible to do, as often as not, the eyesore is a block of garages. There's a particularly poor one, if I remember rightly, by the old railway embankment as you drop down towards Steeds Road. But so almost.
As long as they replace it with some sort of, so where the cars can go rather than put houses there or something, because obviously around there's a lot.
Cars have got to park somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes, I wonder if we can ask for a condition to be put on there that where demolished, that they're replaced with parking spaces.
So that they can at least provide the.
Or we could request that they should be replaced with parking spaces.
And I think what they would probably say is that anything that comes forward would have a planning application.
Yeah.
With it anyway, and so you judge
Yes, that's
it at that point.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. I've been told that in the past, that you can't
What?
do that. Yeah. We'll just leave it as no objection, shall we?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, all right, all those in favour? Okay, thank you. Agenda is applications considered prior to the meeting. Did we have
No,
any?
there are.
Weren't any there now. Yeah. Item 8 then, other matters including correspondence, determination, recommendation council received at the date of the meeting. I've already mentioned the the email from the Naval Plan Steering Group for volunteers. If there's any others, are there? Number 9, correspondence. I don't think there's any.
None.
Decision notices. That's I dreamed it. It's strange what sometimes what you dream about. I think the application for the large advertising hoarding at Jason States has been refused. Is that right? Yeah.
Which page? Yeah, we only got numbers on the page.
It's there somewhere. I haven't found it myself
Halfway
yet.
down the page, the second to last page.
I think I got the last one.
Page.
Oh yes, there we go.
Oh, John State, well done, boys. Yes, sir.
Um,
Oh, and may I also point out two below chair. One from Stratton Ward, the retrospective installation of a shipping container outbuilding. A bit of cladding
yeah.
to make it look like a garage.
oh yeah.
That has been refused.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's any secret that if the officer had been wished to approve it, I would have requested that on my district council role that comes to the committee. But, from that,
Those were just the highlights or lowlights. I'm not sure which. they were.
the air source heat pump Kemble Drive was withdrawn. I don't know if that was the one where we thought it might be noisy. But anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Probably they're working out where else they can put it all.
Very close to it.
It was, yeah.
And there's a refusal right at the end. Isn't there?
White, YA, yes, 9A White Way. I was just looking to see which one that was. I can't quite remember.
So that then takes on to item 11, all member briefing,
Obviously, the wheat sheaf should go on.
the wheat sheaf to go on that. Um, I wonder there's a couple of them where we said subject to the satisfaction of the Heritage and Conservation Officer, and I just wonder whether we're actually mentioning that, because it is a difficult one where you end up with either a listed building where they're wanting to put adverts up which are their brand, or over shop premises that's in a particularly attractive street. It's a bit sort of out of keeper, but actually, who are we to judge sometimes?
And Thomas Street with the red sign.
Yeah,
Maybe that was-
that was to those two, yeah. That was what I was thinking of, was the listed building one. Other than that, I don't think, unless anybody else has got any idea, but I think those were the highlights. And that leaves us with meeting being over, I think. Okay, declare the meeting closed. Thank you.
Chair. 8 minutes after the, not bad.